Hey everybody, today I'm going to be talking about the 3 things that I did to stop my procrastination, but at the same time learn from my procrastination and use it as a tool. So I used to consider myself a master procrastinator. I took it on as this identity that I was just a procrastinator and that's just the way it is. And I never really questioned it until I got to college. And my first experience was watching a TED Talk that I will link below. And it taught me that maybe my procrastination can be used from a tool. And then from there, I continued having more of an open mindset of whether or not my procrastination was just the way that it was. Number 1, learning how to use your procrastination as a tool. So he talked about a lot of things in the TED Talk, but the thing that stuck for me, even though I haven't watched it in years, was that when you procrastinate on something, you allow it to sit in the back of your mind and kind of just accumulate there. And more kind of ideas and inspiration will be just kind of sitting there, coming together. And as soon as I kind of realized this, I quit shaming and guilting myself for it. And I was like, oh, my procrastination can be used as a tool. So I quit shaming myself every time I knew a project was done and needed to be done in 2 weeks. And that was like the start of kind of stopping my procrastination. So I was shocked to see that once I stopped shaming myself and guilting myself, a lot of the stress and anxiety around it just left. And I allowed myself to just think about these things in the back of my mind and to just accept that I was going to do the entire paper on the last day. And as soon as I kind of let go of that, I found that it was actually easier for me to get started and it was easier to do different things. But okay, so I used that as a tool, but I also created a couple of rules. So one of those rules was I could procrastinate, but I had to at least read through the assignment. So I had to go in and I had to look at it. And then number 2, if inspiration did come, then I had to sit down and write it, or I had to put it in a notebook and write my idea out. I had to use these 2 tools because if I get to the end of 2 weeks, I go, oh yeah, there was a paper, then I know that I wasn't thinking about it and allowing it to grow. So that was my kind of first rule. And after letting go of the guilt and the shame, I was able to just look at the paper, go through it, and start to just think about it without that stress. And I found that it truly did happen. And most of the time I started getting stuff done days before, when before I was getting them, you know, if it's due at midnight, I'm 3 minutes before. So that's my number 1, and it leads pretty well into the second one. And I got this from a YouTuber that I'll put below. What he said in his video was, it's not motivation, but clarity that you're lacking. And I started to kind of use this, and I found that it wasn't just motivation. It wasn't that I was procrastinating, it was that I was lacking in information. And so once I made my key focus when I was procrastinating, getting more information, very quickly a lot of my procrastination just left. And so I think that's one of the things about keeping an open mind with procrastination is, if you just think that's the way you are, then you're not necessarily going to go seek out more information. And I think this can be true for a lot of different things. Like if you have different projects that you go, oh, I really want to do this, but you're not doing it, you may simply just be in a case of like, you're excited to do it, you want to do it, you just don't know what to do. And so it can just seem very obvious, but once we know that what we're lacking is clarity, then we can go seek that clarity out, ask more questions, research, go to someone who does know what they're talking, and then we'll find that things start to happen. So, and then this leads into number 3, which is that it might be a greater shift in identity than you think it is. Just like I had taken on this identity of a procrastinator, I think that it's easy, like let's say you wanted to start getting into minimalism, and you think that you want to do it and you're excited to do it, and you go, all right, I'm going to start with clearing out the garage. And then weeks pass, months pass, and you don't clear out the garage. And this may be because although you think that what you want to do is to become a minimalist, there may be that part of you, that identity that's been buying things and that has obviously been wanting that for a very long time, that all of a sudden you go, I want to become a minimalist. That other part of your identity, that part that wants safety and all of these other things, may be like, no. But this doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. changing your identity is a very uncomfortable thing, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. So this one's kind of from James Clear, is if you want to change your identity, then every action you take towards that identity is going to change you towards that identity. Every step that you take away from that identity is turning you into that person. So every time you get rid of something, you would be shaping that identity as a minimalist. And every time you buy something, get something you don't need, you would be going the opposite direction. If what you truly want is to become a minimalist, then you may need to start looking at, well, why did I want to start buying so many things and have all of that in the first place? Why did I want this identity? And then also, why do I want to become a minimalist? Why do I want this identity? And once you kind of heal that past of why you had that identity and you look to where you want to go in the future, you can start taking actions and inactions on the other one to start moving you towards that. Instead of going, I'm going to clean out the whole garage, realize that that's going to be a very difficult thing for you to do because changing your identity is complicated. So maybe you start with the bathroom, or maybe you start with just getting rid of one thing from the garage every single day for a month. And as you take each step and you take each action, you'll get closer and closer. And at the same time, you may be getting rid of things that have very much to do with an identity. Like maybe it was a concert that you went to and you want to get rid of this shirt, but you just can't let go. Well, that may be another change in identity that you're just not willing to let go of. But once you know that the problem is identity, then you can look over it and you can figure out, what am I not letting go of and where do I want to go? And then you can let go of it. So those are my 3 tips and what I've done to stop procrastinating. So I think first, we can quit guilting and shaming ourselves. And second, we can kind of look at using it as a tool and something that you can learn from. And then you want to look at, is what I'm lacking motivation or is it clarity? And finally, stop and think about how much this will really affect and change your identity, and then taking the steps that you can healthily move towards this new identity. Those are my 3 that have helped me greatly in stopping my procrastination. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like. Thanks for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe.